Hello, everybody. My name is Jen Longton. I am the Vice President of Marketing for Pure Juicer. I am so honored to be here today with our Chief Medical Officer, who has just started with us, Dr. Ilene Ruhoy, and the famous Mimi Kirk. We're going to dive into everybody's story, but Mimi, there's just so much that we have all admired and known about for years, and we're just so thrilled to have both of you here together. So my job here is really just to keep the conversation going and bring up some topics that some other folks have brought up, but it's really to hear both of you talk about the power of juicing, the power of raw foods and what it does to your bodies, and really just getting both of your perspectives, because Dr. Ruhoy, you have sort of this medical approach and point of view, but you also know so much about integrative medicine and environmental toxicology. And then maybe you have been a raw vegan and a proponent for juicing for decades. So I'm thrilled to have you both here. We're going to dive in right now. And who wants to go first? We want to just hear maybe a version of your story, what's important to you. Yeah, who wants to start first?
I'll start.
All right.
Great. Because I'm the oldest, so I'm going to go first. Speaking of the oldest, I'm the youngest, 82. That's my current age. I was born in 1938. And I've actually been a vegetarian or vegan for the better part of my life. I'd go off once in a while, but I started at 30 and learned about animal cruelty and didn't want any part of it. And that's what started me out. So I, went off occasionally, and then I became a vegan because I thought I really learned what I needed to do for the environment and everything else. But it wasn't until I was 69 that I became a raw vegan. And what happened is that I was eating some regular food. I had a new boyfriend and I was cooking for him and cooking to impress. And I cooked everything and ate everything. And I put on 22 pounds, and I went for a doctor visit, and he told me my blood pressure and cholesterol was high and handed me a prescription. And my family history, health is not great. They've all had cancer and everything you can think of, diabetes and heart problems. And they were all on medication. And I just didn't want to do that. So I started researching, and raw food kept coming up. I thought, oh no, I love to cook and eat. This is not going to work, just salads. But I thought I had to try it. So I started juicing. That was the first thing I did. I had juiced years ago. I've always juiced something, but not, I used to juice little glasses. Like I just thought, oh, beating a carrot or something, and I would juice. I didn't know anything about juicing, and there really wasn't much out about it in the 70s. And so I always juiced and had some clunky machines that I would juice for a while, and then I couldn't stand cleaning them, and I'd stick them under the counter and wouldn't use it for a while. But now I had to get serious about what I was going to do. So I started juicing for 2 weeks and just eating, salads and, really clean plant food. And by the end of the 2 weeks, I knew I was onto something. I felt so much younger. I kept looking at myself. My eyes were all bright and my energy level was just over the roof. And I thought, okay, this is it. So since then, I was a raw vegan, just 100%. Now I eat some cooked vegan food, but the juicing to me has always been the major thing, that flooding my body with nutrients. And so basically that's my story. I'm the mother of four kids and 7 grandchildren. And I've been in a long-term relationship with my boyfriend for 18 years, and he's 20 years my junior. Thank you very much.
Wow.
And I'm as healthy as anything. And this is what's important to me. It's not about weight. I'm at a very good weight, and, I still have a nice figure. But to me, it's not about anything but feeling healthy inside. So the way I look, I am going to be aging. I have aged. To me, I look way different than I did 10 years ago. And, but I feel better than I felt 20 years ago. So I think that's a real big, a big plus for the way I eat. I flood my body with nutrients, and I think it really makes a difference in every way whatsoever. And of course I exercise every day, and I think positive. And I think that combination of the 3 things, I think really makes a difference in life. I feel like I wake up in the morning, honestly, I could be 35, 30, 40 years old. No aches or pains. I just hop out of bed. I don't realize my age until I pass a mirror. And then of course I'm shocked, but who's that woman? But other than that, I feel great. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Oh my gosh, Mimi, that's amazing. That's
You are
amazing.
such an inspiration. Seriously.
Thank you.
Eileen, what about you, Dr. Ruhoy?
My story is not nearly as impressive as Mimi's. My story, I too have been a vegan slash vegetarian basically since I'm 15. I was a vegan for many years. And then when I was in medical school and spending many hours at the hospital, it was hard to sustain myself. So I was more of a vegetarian than a vegan at that time. Back in those days, actually, it was actually very difficult to be a vegan, especially in a hospital cafeteria. So I sort of had no choice but to be vegetarian. But once I was able to better control what I ate, then I returned to veganism. But then I started to feel that I started to learn more about health and the body and evolution. And I sort of recognized the importance of plant-based diets. As well as realizing that, when we cook them, we actually change their molecular structure and they're not as nature intended. So I started to dabble in raw foods and juicing here and there as best as I could. And I actually spent about even before my health challenge, which is when I sort of really converted, but I actually spent a year and a half as just a raw foodist. And I had never felt better in my life, for sure. I mean, when I think back to those days, I almost don't recognize who I was, the amount of energy that I had, the amount of mental clarity that I had, even the way my skin and my hair were. It was really the best time, but I was in a place in my life where I was able to really always control what I was eating. Being in medicine, sometimes that's very difficult to do. Then in 2015, I was faced with a brain tumor and I had to have surgery, a resection, and it was actually very difficult to chew afterwards because they had to cut through muscles that you need for chewing. So I had already been juicing, not as regularly, but I had been juicing. And so I realized that in order to heal appropriately, I need to sort of acquire enough nutrients and vitamins. And so I just started juicing in larger volumes because I was able to drink. I just wasn't able to chew. And my recovery was steadfast. I felt better exponentially each and every day. It was quick. I was able to go right back to work full time without a step. And ever since that time, I really have maintained consistency in a lot of my dietary choices, largely obviously pure veganism, but also juicing on a regular basis. I often juice first thing in the morning. It's really the way that I start out my day. I definitely feel the difference on days when I haven't juiced. And over the years, this was in 2015, and over the years, I have faced recurrences, and it usually coincides with me sort of not addressing my own needs first. And so then I would sort of up my game a little bit and making sure that I pursue juicing and appropriate diet and other lifestyle choices. But I've been an advocate for food as medicine for many years. The power of nutrition for our bodies, for our health, for our longevity, for even disease management, as well as for preventative purposes, cannot be understated. So I regularly preach it with my patients. I specialize in chronic and complex neurological disease. And so even with this patient population, we talk about the importance of their diet choices and nutrition. And so again, food as medicine is one of my passions. And I'm just so proud to be part of this group, certainly, and Pure Juicer. And yeah, and that's my story as well.
That's a pretty great story.
It's an
Med school
story.
alone. Well, bravo. After med school, the way you're practicing.
Yeah, well, back in those days, veganism, and I feel like maybe I'm just in a different world right now, but I feel like it's much more mainstream and much more popular and very easy to do, certainly here in Seattle. But back in medical school, I was there between 1996 and 2000. I mean, I don't think it was, and this was in Pittsburgh, and so maybe it's not as much as plant-based as Seattle is, but I felt it was a lot more difficult and a lot more difficult to find good choices, good options, to be as regular and consistent as I am now.
I was back in the Midwest for a family reunion just a few years ago. And when I offered to put a salad together for dinner, they said, "We already have a vegetable on the table," and it was corn.
No, I know.
I think there's a challenge. Yeah, I think that Seattle it has really embraced a lot.
It is funny. I mean, so when I talk to patients about salads, I mean, they always sort of talk to me about their side salad. And I always, I should actually pull out the bowl. I'm here at my own house. house to show you the size of the bowls of the salads that we eat in this house. And my husband is a huge plant-based eater, and he eats salads on bowls that, people usually serve like, big barrels of like
The
popcorn.
main salad. Yeah, me too.
Right.
That's the way.
Those are the kinds of salads that we eat. So it is funny to try to reconcile how people think about vegetables and salads as, being more of the main part of the meal as opposed to something on the side that you may not even get to if you get too full on, the major portion.
I've gotten the eye from in a restaurant when I order 4 salads, when they all small salad, and I'll have 4 of those, please.
That's
it's like,
exactly
what?
right.
No, I
That's
want
exactly
all 4 of them.
That's exactly. We always say things like extra vegetables, and then they always give us that look like, well, we'll have to charge you for that, and we're like, okay, then just
Put it on. Put it on. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many good
What
tricks.
about you, Jen? What's your story?
What is my story? I started juicing a little over a year ago. I would say probably 20 months ago. And part of it was because Dr. Ruhoy she answered a lot of the questions that I had about juicing, because I had heard all of the pieces of, I should just be eating that food instead. Is it going to be too much sugar for my body? And, Dr. Ruhoy really explained to me how juicing worked. And then of course, being able to work at Pure Juicer and then having to dive into the whole juicing, I fell in love with it. I mean, for me, juicing has really changed my life. I've always been passionate about wellness. I've always been passionate about, like you, Mimi, fitness and wellness, self-care, and have struggled with depression in my life too. So just all of those different things. I mean, I kind of ride a pretty narrow path. So I was like, if I really need to do one more thing for my health, I am just, and then here I am today thinking it's the greatest addition that I've really had, not just for myself, but for my whole family. I know that my skin changed almost within a week's time of juicing, so much that my dermatologist asked me what I did differently because my skin looked so much better. And I love her because she's not afraid to tell me if something doesn't look good. So that was good. And then also my son, I asked him, I said, what do you love about the juice now that you've been doing it for a year? And he said that he noticed that his skin is better. As a teenage boy, it's a big deal for anyone that age to have good skin. And then also that he just feels better. He just feels stronger. He feels better in the day. So I would say that my story has always been a passion for wellness and fitness. So to have both of you here today is just my absolute dream, especially because I feel like we're moving into a world where we're bridging between medicine and what used to be sort of this controversial,
Right.
Eating raw vegan, like raw food. I mean, that's so controversial, and it's really not controversial, but
Just vegan was controversial. Everywhere you go, people
Oh, yes.
like that was a disease word.
yes.
Right.
If you said you were vegan, it was like, what? What's that? And I started, like I mentioned, being vegetarian in 1970, probably. Yeah, it was 1970. And my kids were small, and I came home and said, we're not going to eat meat anymore. You can eat it if we go out, but I can't cook it. And I told them why. And they said, no, we'll do it. So my kids were that way. They'd go to school and their friends would all come over and go, what is that? What is that? And they'd see big bowls of fruit. And all the kids were at my house all the time. And my kids said when they went to their friend's house, it was like boxes of cereal, completely different. They said, Mom, you would not believe what's in the refrigerator and on their shelves. They don't have anything to eat that's fresh.
Yeah.
And so we were very early, the whole family was very early jumping into this. And I mean, I really didn't think about health at that age. I have to say, I was widowed at 29 and I was 30 years old. And I was always concerned about my children's health, but it wasn't about health for me. It was really about the animals. It's a bonus that my health was so good, but I didn't even put that together. It didn't occur to me that eating the way I did was going to change my health all these years. And,
absolutely. When I was 15, I wasn't thinking about health either.
Yeah,
I was thinking more about the animal cruelty. I've always been an animal lover.
Right.
Still am. And so that's what I was thinking about. Absolutely. And when you're that young, of course, I don't think health is on any 15-year-old's radar necessarily, or even any 29-year-olds. I mean, I think I think that comes later, you know, in midlife, you start really thinking and taking your health seriously. But
Yeah.
yeah, my initial interest was about animal cruelty.
Yeah, and I think most of the young people today that have chosen that path are the same way. I have a lot of parents that get in touch with me and say, it's not healthy for them to be eating like this. And I said, I raised my kids that way and they're all
Yeah.
totally healthy and good immune systems and everything. But a lot of parents people are afraid. Now, you know, when you live on the coast like we do, I'm in San Diego, or you live in New York, it's like all common. And it wasn't for a long time that I was able to travel and even go abroad where it was totally accepted. I lived in
Oh, I
Mallorca.
completely agree.
Yeah, 6
Yeah,
months a
travel
year.
actually is definitely, that's one of the obstacles. It's a
Yeah,
challenge, and obviously less so today than it has been in the past. But when
yeah.
my husband, daughter, and I, when we're planning travel, we always actually do searches about where, the question is always, what are we going to eat? Where are we going to
Where
eat?
are you going to eat? Yeah.
Right.
Well,
We
now
always have to try to address that before we go anywhere.
everywhere I go, they understand what vegan is. It's not like, oh yes, it's vegan. It just has
Right.
a little chicken on it. They don't do that anymore. They actually know what vegan is. And raw. There's raw restaurants all over. I've been to Poland. I've been everywhere, or doing lectures and stuff. And there's raw food restaurants and there's vegan restaurants, and it's just very easy to adapt now. And I am hoping that more of this happens because
Yeah.
I think we need it for many reasons on the environment and everything. I just think we need it, and
Oh, I
more people
completely
are
agree.
open to it. And I think a lot of people have to start slowly. Some people can't. I transitioned immediately, but I think for a lot of people, they need to just start eating a few times a week, eating that way, and seeing how good they feel. And that's the one thing I always tell people: if you don't do anything else, juice, because you'll start to feel good after you drink that juice.
That's
And then
right.
if you're not the next meal, if that's not good, you're not going to be wanting to have that. So you're going to want
Absolutely.
something that's more healthy. So
I couldn't
yeah,
agree more. When I'm counseling and guiding patients on their nutritional plans, I always stress baby steps, because if I expect a miracle overnight, I know that they're not, most of the times they're not going to be able to do it. They'll become discouraged and I probably won't see them again. And my goal is to care for them in the long term. I always say it's a partnership, it's a journey, and we work on it day by day. And sometimes we make bad decisions, but sometimes we make good decisions. And the goal is to make more good decisions over bad decisions when it comes to our health, to where we get to the point where we're making mainly good decisions.
mainly good decisions.
So
Well, one of the
my background is different in that I mean, I loved animals, but I'll be honest, I always separated the two. I didn't choose a vegan diet, partly because too, a lot of the vegans that I knew ate a lot of bagels. You know, they lived on bagels, and I couldn't live on
I
bagels.
love bagels. I'm from
Yeah.
Brooklyn, New York. I mean, we eat bagels.
All right. But I couldn't because
me too. I eat bagels too.
yeah, I thought that I couldn't because it was the sugar and the bread that got me into sort of my dis-ease in my 20s, because that's all I lived on was cereal, bread, and sugar. And so for me, the only way that I could keep my blood sugar was meat. And so what's interesting is that when I started juicing is that I actually lost all taste for meat. And I really didn't start off with that, but I don't eat meat anymore. And it really wasn't because it wasn't a conscious choice, but it was interesting that juicing for me came first. And what came afterwards is just a complete disinterest in eating meat. And I love it. And I feel that much better. It's like you start the juicing, you feel good, just like you said. And then all of a sudden you feel good. And now you don't want the meat. So you eat more vegetables and you feel better. And then you can go for a run and you don't ache the way that you used to.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I find. That's what I find working with people, that if you just can start them out to juice, which is pretty easy. And even if they don't make it, they can find it somewhere until they're addicted, and then they have to have their own juicer, of course. But once people start that out and they know what it feels like to feel good, I think, honestly, I think there's so many people walking around that don't know they don't feel good.
I completely agree.
They're so used to getting up and like aches and pains and not feeling
Right.
good.
And they blame it on aging often. You know, I'm getting
yes,
old. I mean, I hear that all the time. You know,
yes,
this is how they think everyone feels. Everyone must feel achy at this age.
achy. That's what they say. They just say, oh, well, I'm 40 or I'm 50.
Right, exactly.
No, wait, that's not normal. But that's because they've been eating this diet for so long and gradually starting to feel worse as they age, they think that it's okay to eat that way. But
That's right.
once they start putting nutrients in their body through juicing, I really feel it changes everything. Just like you said, Jen, for you, it made you say, hey, this feels good. And well, this doesn't feel so good. Then
Yeah.
you start wanting more vegetables. You know, I always tell a lot of people, just drink juice in the morning, maybe have a fruit or something in between lunch, and then lunch, eat a big salad as big as you can with everything in it, all the vegetables that you can think of. And then have a cooked meal for dinner, and you'll see how you feel. Just try that for a week and see the difference between eating that way during the day and then having something that you cook at night. And a lot of times that helps people transition easily that way.
Dr. Ruhoy, will you explain why you drink juice in the morning? I found that to be really helpful for me when I was getting started.
Yeah, I think, well, we fast overnight while we sleep. And so when we wake up in the morning, our GI tract is completely naive, and I like to say almost virginal, right? So we haven't introduced any foods or liquids to our GI tract. So it hasn't had to do any work yet. It hasn't had to produce enzymes or acid or so on. So to start the day off on a completely naive GI tract and just feed it large consumption of vitamins, minerals, and other healthy compounds from the juice, it's just passively absorbed. It doesn't require a lot of energy from our body. So it is so easily absorbed. And it really just jumpstarts the day. And I found that there's no better way to start the day, because you just get that burst of vitamins, and it really starts all of the cellular machinery and all the biochemical reactions and gets the physiology underway. So that is why I always recommend people start first thing in the morning. I think it's a really healthy habit to have. And then sometimes even with patients who are, or I shouldn't, not everyone's patient, sometimes I just talk to friends and family and people, but you know, who are trying to transition, I say, even if you just start with just doing that for yourself for a couple of weeks, you've started your day off right. And if the day goes sideways, at least you've done something well for yourself. And I say that about exercise as well. I'm a morning exerciser. And so, you know, I always say that at least I know that I've started my day off right, and I've done something good for myself, at least today. So I feel the same way about juicing.
Yeah.
I look at it this way, is that through the night you're fasting. And so breakfast is break fast. And it's what you break it with that is important. And that's why I think juice is important in the morning, because you don't want to break that fast with something heavy. And juice is like the ideal thing to have. I try to eat very early myself. You know, I don't like to be a late eater because I don't like to go to bed with any food on my stomach. So I try to eat early. So I've got all those hours in between my last meal of the day until morning. If I broke that with a big meal, I would be feeling heavy all day.
Absolutely.
So like you, I think I'm that way with exercise. I like exercising in the morning, but I think of it in those terms: break fast, breakfast. And that's how you break your fast in the morning, by juicing. And then you do have all your nutrients for the day, or you just got through with a run or a walk and you're finished with it for the day. And so that takes care of your day. In case you get bogged down with something, you've got that in already. So for me, I like the same thing. That makes me feel like I'm really doing something for myself. And I
love that.
Mimi, do you have a juice that you like to drink in the morning? Do you find that there's certain vegetables and fruits that work really well for you in the morning, or is it variety or seasonal?
Well, first of all, I was like a green fiend. I just couldn't get enough greens in my body, and everything I fixed would be green with like maybe an apple or a piece of pineapple or a little pineapple juice in it or something. But it was green, green, green. But now I'm open to more varieties, and I like more varieties. And I started doing more varieties when I wrote my book, because I had to try everything out. So I had to get off just all greens and experiment with other juices. So then I was fixing everything. That was like the best. Writing that book was the best time of my life, because I had juices all the time. I was juicing and Mike was photographing, and I'd be juicing again, and I'd be trying another juice. So I really like everything. I love cucumber in my drinks because
I love cucumber.
Just love it. I think everything about the cucumber, the moisture, the hydration, everything. I just feel really good with cucumbers. That's one thing I like to put in every day. And I love celery. I'm not one who likes the celery by itself. I like the taste of it, but it doesn't work for me as well as a mixed juice. I know celery is very popular juice right now, and I'm sure it's really good for you, but it doesn't work for me as well as getting the other nutrients in there. Mm-hmm. But I like carrots and beets and ginger, and lemon. You know, I like, cabbage in a drink. I like everything. I can juice anything and really like it. I don't have an actual favorite, and it depends what's left in my refrigerator. You know, now that I'm sending out for food and I'm not shopping, sometimes you order something and it doesn't come from Whole Foods. They don't find it, or it's out of stock or
Right.
whatever. So I've been more flexible since COVID. So whatever's in there, all the kinds of mixed lettuce that I always have a refrigerator full of lettuce, but I really like all the drinks. And this is one thing I found when I've been on like a juice cleanse, and I think they're nice to do every once in a while. I need a variety. I don't want the same thing every day. I want something that's just straight carrots sometime with a little ginger and lemon. I want a green drink one time. I want a combination of things. And that's the way I usually do whatever my body wants. I think after you've been juicing for a long time, you just have instinct on what you need for the day. I think new juicers need recipes and things to work with until they get used to juicing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think once you do, you just have an instinct. And then sometimes it's seasonal. Like if you can get a bunch of stuff, watermelon, I love juicing watermelon. If it's watermelon season, I make tons of watermelon juice. And so I love all of that. But I just had juice delivered to me, a whole basket full of juice, and it was all mixed different things. And I finished that up in no time. And I just want that every day. I mean, that is the best gift anyone could give somebody, is a basket of juice, because you could drink that all day long and you feel amazing. And food is not even an issue. You don't even care about eating. You just want to juice. And
I think I saw you said you're like, I was going to sit down, but I have so much energy now that I drank this juice that I'm going to go work in my garden.
I know. It's like,
no, I know.
That's what happened when you flood your body with juice. At one point I had just a 16 ounce a day. And then on a good day, I was doing 32 ounces. That to me is healing. If you could do 32 ounces of juice every day, no matter what disease you have, it's going to build your immune system so well. And I think you need 32 ounces to do it. I really do. I felt the difference when I drank 32 to when I'm drinking 16. So, you know,
what do you do? Is that the same for you as well?
I do. I mean, on most days I shoot for 32. I absolutely agree with what Mimi says. I think there's a huge difference with how you feel.
Yeah.
But I also think you have to build up to that. So I don't like people to think that if they don't drink 32 ounces, they're not getting benefits. I think you have to build up to that. But there is definitely a difference in how I feel. And I do target for 32 ounces. I don't always make it, just because I go to work and before I know it, it's late at night and I haven't gotten there. But I regularly drink at least 16 for sure. And then, like I said, my goal is to double that each day.
What are you drinking in the morning these days?
Oh, it really varies. I always have a cucumber. I love what cucumber does to juice. First of all, there's a ton of water content. Yeah. And then there's that slight sweetness to the cucumber fruit, right? Exactly. So it just sort of adds that nice level of sweetness. And because I do a lot of greens, dark leafy greens like spinach and collard greens and kale. Yeah. So I do a lot of that. I really am a big fan of pineapple juice, actually. I add a lot of pineapple. And then apples as well. I think, pineapple has the bromelain, and I think that's really great for all of our joints and muscles as we age. And I love the quercetin in the apples. And I think that's great for our innate immune system, just to sort of keep us strong. And they're good fruits to sort of add to dark leafy greens to just sort of take the flavor off. But I also am a fan of mono juicing. So sometimes when I'm drinking a lot of juice, I'll just sort of stick to pure carrot juice with some ginger. That's one of my favorite basic recipes. Or sometimes pure cucumber, and I'll throw in some ginger and turmeric. Or sometimes I'll throw in a lemon just for some added flavor. So I do like mono juicing as well. And I have to say that it really it can vary from day to day or week to week. I'll get on a kick of something. As you know, like lately I've been doing the cruciferous because we've been talking about it, Jen.
I love that juice. People don't realize how delicious cabbage is.
Gosh, I love cabbage juice. And add some broccoli to it. It's amazing. And honestly, up until fairly recently, I didn't realize how well you can juice broccoli. I think it was the Pure Juicer that opened my eyes. The juices that I've used in the past, I didn't juice broccoli as well. So I sort of gave up on it for a while, but I'm back to it and it's delicious. It really is.
The Pure Juicer would juice a sponge. It would juice anything.
It really will. I know it will.
You know, I want to share something my daughter does, one of my daughters, because she's a executive director at a preschool and she has to be very organized. And on Sunday, she fixes her food for the week, her breakfast and her lunches. And she's always got it organized. She's rather spend 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is, getting it all done. So when she rushes off, she makes sure that she has her food with her. And she prepares she puts all the stuff that she's going to juice for the day or a smoothie, whatever she decides, but juicing. And she'll put those all in a big Ziploc, a reusable Ziploc bag that she gets. And she has them all in the refrigerator. So all she does, they're all clean, ready, going. All she does is take them out and throw them in the juicer, and she's got her juice to go for the day.
That's
So she
fantastic.
doesn't have to clean or prepare or do any of the food. And I think it's a really great idea. And when she does fruit smoothies, when she does, sometimes people will ask her to fix their food. And so for a break in the between lunch and breakfast, maybe she'll put all these fruits, pineapple and black cherries, everything organic, and put them in a freezer bag. And then she can take that and put it in the blender and add your almond milk. So if you're busy, it's really nice to get everything prepared so it makes it easy. And she's the expert at that. I think that's such a good idea.
It's true for everything. It's true.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Plan.
So,
What do you guys tell people that are interested in smoothies versus juices? I mean, I've read the difference as far as how it affects your digestive system, and that, you know, even if you have a smoothie, that you kind of want to mush it around in your mouth because of the digestive process.
you have to chew a smoothie. I mean, people have smoothies and they just drink them, but there's so much fiber in there.
Mhm.
Unless you actually masticate it, I don't think you're getting the full benefits of it. You're just swallowing it. I just want to say for myself that I feel different when I'm juicing than when I'm making a smoothie.
Mhm.
I have energy, like it's like a shot in the arm. When I drink a juice, I just feel energetic immediately. A smoothie, it's delicious, and I'll do that every once in a while, but it's not for the same reason. And even in my book, I have smoothies a lot. I tell people, if that's all you can do is make a smoothie, at least do that. But it doesn't feel as good for me and my body. It doesn't give me the same amount of energy. And I love the way some of the smoothies taste. So I'm usually like a fruit smoothie or a nut butter, almond butter, and cacao powder and almond milk kind of girl with some medjool dates. Those are my kind of smoothies that I make. But juicing is, to me anyway, how it makes my body feel is completely different. I'm sure Ilene knows the best energy level of it, but I only know by what way it makes me feel. So,
You know, I completely agree. I mean, smoothie obviously has the fiber, and and it's important to say that just because we're promoting juicing doesn't mean, we don't think that fiber is important. I
right.
Especially
regularly
when we're
recommend
ordering
fiber is a very
4,000.
important part of the diet, right? I mean, it's very important for the health of our gastrointestinal tract. It's important for a
Right.
lot of reasons. It holds certain vitamins and nutrients as well. So I think smoothies are a great way of getting the fiber of fruits and juices, but it is like a meal, and it does need to be chewed a little bit because it does have fiber and it needs to start being broken down within the
Right.
oral cavity, which is where food is meant to be broken down. People who just sort of scoff up their food and eat so quickly, like my daughter, by the way, I'm always telling her to slow down.
I thought you were going to say like your dog, but
Oh, no. Oh, my dog too, actually, but because they're rescues, and I think they just get excited that they're being fed on a
I
regular
think so.
basis.
Yeah.
But when you eat too fast, you don't allow the enzymes of your oral cavity to really start doing the first part of digestion, which is important to release a lot of the foodstuff health beneficial properties. So smoothies are similar. I mean, obviously the blending process starts to break it down a little bit, but it doesn't have the benefit of our natural enzymes for appropriate digestion. So it is important to masticate a little bit. But they still have great health benefits for sure. But I agree, because of all that fiber, it doesn't provide as quick of a burst of energy as juicing does. I mean, I agree with everything Mimi just said, which is I drink juice and I feel like I could, take on the world, and I go to
Yeah.
work in a very energetic manner. And when I drink a smoothie, it's not that I'm, lethargic, certainly not. It's not like the opposite, but it does not provide as much of a burst of energy,
Yeah.
certainly not initially. I think over
Right.
time, because of the healthy lifestyle and healthy choices that we make, all of that adds to just an overall sense of well-being, which I think is important.
Mimi,
first,
does your daughter ever freeze juices, or do either of you freeze juices, or would you
yes,
rather do smoothies?
I've frozen juice before, and she freezes the juices. We do it in a mason jar. I did before I knew it was okay to do. I was doing it a long time ago, but I wasn't sure that I wasn't losing some nutrients from it. And I until actually David,
Yeah.
Mr. Pure Juicer, said that it doesn't lose any nutrients. And then I felt like all the time I was freezing it, it was okay. And so if I make too much green juice, and I know I'm not going to drink that, I freeze that. The other juices I don't. I try to drink those within a couple of days. But I think freezing is a great idea. I actually think I should do more of it. But this is what I found out recently. This was very interesting. After all my juicing that I've done throughout the years, I started to feel like I only wanted to make enough juice for Mike and I for the day. And it was so fast and so easy because I was always thinking, make more juice, have it for a second day, then you don't have to juice tomorrow. Just do it that way. You don't have to clean the machines or the cloth. But honestly, when I'm just juicing for a day, it seems like it takes me no time at all. And I really like that. And that's what I've been doing. I haven't been making extra juice. But after being flooded with juice this last week, now I want 10 jars of juice in the refrigerator so I can drink all day. So now I might go back to my old way of making more juice and then freezing some of it.
So speaking of flooding our body with good things, and I've heard that too, that you actually you get the energy and process juice much faster, and food is actually faster than smoothies, because I don't know anyone who actually chews their smoothie, but that makes a difference. But I think that brings up a question that we get a lot too, and that is around type 1 diabetes. So, I mean, do people, and I don't know if either one of you want to weigh in or share your opinion on this or your approach, but people with type 1 diabetes, are they allowed to juice? Is that safe for their systems? And if so, what would you recommend that they juice?
So I recommend juicing for type 1 and type 2 diabetes. I think that it's important to realize that the superfoods are very healthy for diabetes. And so they can juice the dark leafy greens. They can juice even blueberries, which are a low sweet but highly antioxidant superfood fruit. Foods with manganese are shown to actually help regulate blood glucose. So, and garlic, for example, actually helps to manage blood sugars as well. So I do think that there are some things that they can very safely and for their health juice. And so I recommend the dark leafy greens. I recommend garlic often. I recommend, like I said, blueberries and some other superfood fruits, a lot of the berry families. Even pomegranates actually have been shown not to increase blood glucose. So I think it's safe to juice a little bit of pomegranate. So I do think that there are some really healthy recipes for diabetes.
There are. I have some in my book because I think that's very important to continue juicing. You just don't want to put all the sweet things in there. Yeah. That's the one thing I recommend, is not to do all the sweet juices. My granddaughter has type 1 diabetes, and she watches herself and monitors herself very closely, and she can drink green drinks without watching anything go up at all, as long as this doesn't have a lot of sweet fruits in it. So I think it's very important for anybody. Listen, type 1 diabetes is, you've got that's it. But if you've got type 2 diabetes, you can actually heal yourself from that by drinking juices. You can cure yourself from type 2 diabetes by the way you change your diet. And people who are on medication can get their medication lowered by their doctor once they're juicing for a while. I know many people that take blood pressure medication, and once they started juicing, they told the doctor, what do you think? Because do you think you can take me off of this? Well, let's try. And so many of them were able to cut their medication in half. So juicing has all kinds of wonders for everybody's body. Is a little different, of course, but it's done wondrous for so many people that if anybody does have any physical problems, it would be amazing for them to start juicing and work with their doctor if they need to say what they're doing. And if they could find a doctor like you, maybe that would be good. Regular doctors don't care as much, but regular doctors don't even tell you about eating or juicing. That's not their thing. They're not trained in that, and they don't talk about it. But it does.
Dr. Ruhoy, tell us about a little bit about your approach, or how are you bridging these two worlds together? I feel like we're all craving it. We all want to be healthy. We don't want to go see a doctor. We'd like to prevent as much as we can. But I think there's this beautiful combination of what you're doing, which is you're healing people with very severe illnesses, but you're also not just using pharmaceuticals. You're really looking at all of the different things that plants and fruits and vegetables and everything that grows that needs the sun to grow, to cure people or to make them feel better or to build their body up.
Well, I think that, so I'm a neurologist, but I did training in integrative medicine. And I think the studies are clear. There is a nutritional component to a lot of chronic disease. Even in neurology, I mean, we've had, in fact, I was co-editor of an integrative neurology textbook that was just recently published by Oxford Press. And in it, we talk about in each chapter sort of the role of nutrition. So the role of nutrition in reducing stroke risk, for example, the role of nutrition in reducing the risk of cognitive decline, and so on. We know that things like diabetes and hypertension and many of the maladies that many Americans suffer from today are related to lifestyle choices. So it is clear that nutrition plays a role in our health. And so I ground myself in that knowledge, in that literature, and in those studies. And I use it as an important part of a treatment plan. So, I often don't use it solely. Obviously, there are some patients that come, to see me for prevention purposes. So sometimes we can just focus on their nutrition and nothing else for a while. But if someone has a disease, it's an integrative approach, but it always includes nutrition, because I really think food is probably the number one thing that we can do on our own for ourselves. We have to eat every day. And so it's important to sort of recognize that foods can either be pro-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. And so the more choices we make in the anti-inflammatory section, the better we are treating our bodies. And I think that's really important. And when it comes to things like supplements, I always say that, there's no supplement in the world that is a match for a crappy diet, excuse my language. But it is true. I mean, what's the point of all these supplements that contain their own excipients and preservatives only to drive through Taco Bell on the way home for dinner? It doesn't make sense to me. So I think the fact that the earth has provided us with foodstuffs, it means that our bodies are meant to be exposed to the compounds within those foodstuffs. And that's what our diets and our nutrition should focus from. So I just sort of talk about that with patients, and it usually resonates with them. They, and obviously, listen, human behaviors are notoriously difficult to change. And a lot of dietary choices are based on habits and sometimes cultural. And I respect that, and I'm sympathetic towards it. So that's why I said earlier that I always explain to them, this is a journey that I go on with you, and we will figure out baby steps together. And many patients are really successful at just changing their diet and noticing how much better they feel. So I just sort of incorporate it into all that I do with each patient.
And I think it's really interesting. A lot of people don't pay any attention until they're sick. Right. Once they get something, they realize, oh, wait, I have a disease or something has hit me. I'm always interested in trying to entertain people who are preventative instead of waiting till they get something, because it's easier to do it if you start early and take care of yourself than to wait until later. It's much easier to prevent it than it is to turn it around. But it all can be turned around. And there are so many people. Sometimes my boyfriend has to zip my mouth up at the market when I look at somebody's shopping cart. It's like, what? I still can't believe how people eat, and I can't believe what's on the shelf. All the food that's on the shelves. Honestly, it makes me wonder about the FDA in general when I see that they allowed all this chemical foods on the shelf. They'll say this is a blueberry cereal when there's no real blueberries in there. It's all chemically made. You'd be better off eating the cardboard box for roughage, than you would eating what was in it with all that junk in it. And I'm shocked on the food on the shelves. And I always tell somebody, stick to the outer side where that fruits and vegetables are. Just shop there. Don't buy that other stuff because processed food is really not good for you. That's one of the things. If you can cut out processed food and eat real food, you're going to be like 100% better than you were. That's the huge thing. We depend on, many people depend on eating processed food for their meals. There's boxes and cartons and cans and all kinds of stuff that they don't do anything. They're not healing your body. They're not doing your body any good. So
what I love that I'm seeing is how many people that are using the juicer for their children. And there was a really cute one where this woman turned the juicer on and her kids snuck down. There was a cute little video of her kids like
I saw
sneaking
that one.
down
That
because
was
they
great.
heard the sound of the juicer. I feel like our kids intuitively know that that juice is really delicious and we crave it. And even before I knew juicing, I had heard that if you can put fruits and vegetables into things and sneak it into kids' food, that's what you did, right? As a mother, to sneak it in to a muffin or something like that. But the studies was is if they eat it, their bodies start to crave it. And I have so many amazing people saying that their kids. My son just guzzled all of the beet juice. I had a beet and a red grape juice, and he guzzled it. I was like, well, I wanted some for myself, But he's just, he loves the beet juice.
So good.
That Markia, who is also a pure juicer, that's her son's favorite juice. And so it's so inspiring to me to see how many young adults and young people and young kids that are getting exposed to all of this now too, because it just makes them crave more of the good stuff. So the boxes will still be there. We can't control all of those pieces, but if we can continue to just support them with the positive stuff, it just we got a fighting chance.
I try my best with my teenage daughter, definitely.
A lot of people don't like eating the vegetables, the beet, for instance, but they love juice. They love the juice. So juicing does carrots, beets, all of the stuff that they might not want to eat on their own. When you juice it, it's great for them. So
I'm loving juicing the kale because for some reason, the step of massaging it with olive oil for a salad is just too much. I'll shove that thing down the feed tube and I'll drink it.
I'm addicted to kale salads. I love eating my kale. I love it. Once I have a kale salad and I can eat 2 big bunches of kale for a kale salad, the next day, all I want is kale. I have this thing, I think, in my body where I feel addicted to greens, and the more I have, the more of it I want.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Same here.
Yeah.
I've been using Dr. Ruhoy's Cool Cruciferous, which is kale, broccoli, and cabbage. The green cabbage. I can't get enough. And my husband can't get enough. We're like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Oh yeah, I was out at the grocery store at 7 a.m. this morning because I'm like, I cannot have a day without this. So
my husband has become a huge juicer ever since getting the pure juicer, frankly. The other juicers, for some reason, he wasn't interested in, but then he was so interested in the technology of the pure juicer and the juice that it made and how delicious it was that he juices on the weekends. It's all he does now. Which is great for me because he does it for me.
Wow, that's great. Well, such a beautiful piece of, such a beautiful instrument, It's like, my boyfriend looks, he's like having a nice car, It's like the top of the line, so beautiful. Yeah, it is. It's a man's juicer,
It is.
We're gonna have a whole series on that because David.
That's a great idea.
He's talking about horsepower and torque and the curves, and I was like, "Will you say that again?" Because I just, it sounds so good when he says it, and I was like, I just need to get you on camera. So we're gonna break down the whole machine, so you're gonna actually.
That's a great idea.
Because there's actually quite a few men that, there's a huge population of men who are juicing, which is so inspiring. Okay, I have one more question and then we'll need to wrap up. Because detoxing is a big thing for a lot of people in the juicing community. It's also a thing that really, it is something that makes people not want to juice, is this whole concept of fasting and juice fasting. So again, we're bridging the gaps between all of these different worlds. And I would just love to hear sort of your approach to fasting when you think it's right and when you don't think it's right, when you think it's wrong.
Well, for me, shall I go first?
Sure.
I was going to say for me, I know that I need nutrients. And so I don't like just fasting on water. A lot of people do that. But for me, I think if you're sick, you might want to do that. But for me, it doesn't work as well. I need the nutrients. So I like a juice fast. And I've gone on long ones. And I've gone on very short ones. And it just depends on what you want. My body is, it's not like I need something heavy duty because I feel like my body's pretty clean, but every once in a while, I just feel like I need to go for 4 days or something. And I know even in my book, I did a regular juice fast where you can have, several juices a day and do a longer fast, a week, or you can do half juices, 8 ounces at a time, and have that separately throughout the day, or just do the 8 ounces. And I think that fasting is very good. It does make my body feel good. I don't think you have to do it real often if you're eating clean, just every once in a while when your instincts tell you to. And I think when people are sick, I think juice fasting and just having a lot of juice and flooding their body with juice, and my experience has been that is very helpful for that. But I'm a light juice faster, I have to say. I will do it for 3 or 4 days now. I used to do very long ones. I mean, I did just a spirulina fast once for 15 days. I was like emaciated,
Wow.
but it was years ago when I didn't know anything. Somebody said to do that, and I did that for all that length of time, but not since. From now, I just drink juice. I eat healthy and I drink juice, and I don't juice fast that often anymore.
Yeah.
That's just for my body. So
I think that too, you struck on a chord that is one that I'm really passionate about, is that to use juice fasting as a way to, I wouldn't even say balance, but to excuse a diet that is unhealthy is just setting
right.
yourself up and everyone around you for um, a different kind of problem. So I think that's when it scares me, when you start juice fasting because you're eating so poorly or drinking so poorly. You have to kind
Right.
of ask yourself why you're eating so poorly and drinking so poorly so much that you need to have another fast. So
Right.
I really love the approach of being gentle with yourself and eating as clean as you can in this world, but even just upping the juice if necessary. But I get
Right.
concerned when I see that the January one, because you had such a crazy December and then you're trying
Right.
to clean yourself out only to mess yourself back up in
Right.
February. Anyway, what about you, Dr. Ruhoy? What's your approach?
I completely agree. I mean, I think the goal is to eat well enough where you don't feel the need to detox,
Yeah.
whatever
Right.
that means to you. I think that, the truth is we live in sort of a toxic, chemical laden world. So I don't think it unreasonable that every so often you feel, as Mimi said, the instinct to maybe have to, do a little bit of a detox. And I think that, the body can go without solid foods for a while, but can't go without hydration. And I think that to juice fast periodically for short periods of time is actually a healthy habit to have, certainly. And that's generally what I practice. I sort of know when I need to sort of, cleanse a little bit. And that's when I'll do just a juice fast. I rarely ever do it longer than a single day, to be completely honest. I've done it for 3 days about a year ago. In the past, when I was a raw foodist, I actually did it for a longer period of time and ultimately did not feel as great. So I sort of decided that wasn't good for at least my body. But in past years, I usually just do one day or so of just a pure juice fast.
I wanted to mention something and see if you've had this before. I have some friends who I think have some eating disorders, and they juice all the time. And they go
Yeah.
on long juice fasts all the time. And when they eat, they're always like, oh my God, I had food to, I can tell there's something going on, because when they do eat a few days in a row, they think, oh my God, I've been eating so much, which they haven't. I better
Right.
juice. So I think that this has allowed a lot of people who have, at least they're getting nutrients, at least that they're not starving. But I know that I'm sure that some people that I know or in my past have had some eating disorder and use juicing as the instrument to
Yeah.
make themselves not feel guilty for having food.
Right. I think that's a really good point. And that is a caveat that we should probably point out, that those with a history of eating disorders, I think, this takes on a different kind of meaning to them. So a lot of, I think, what we're talking about are where it applies to people who don't have any eating disorder background or history. But I agree, and it's something to be careful about, certainly. And I'm obviously very careful with my patients when they ask me about nutrition and dietary advice.
Mhm.
But it is an important point, and I think it's something that people should at least acknowledge and be cognizant of, that some people use juicing in inappropriate ways, and that's a different, I think, a different conversation.
Yeah,
Right.
we could use anything the wrong way. So
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah,
that's the
right.
caveat to life, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience about juicing, about life, just anything that comes to mind that you'd like to end with? We're just so grateful again for your time.
Well, for me, I'd like to end with this. I think that you have to make a commitment. You have to love yourself, and you have to make a commitment to yourself in order to take care of yourself. And for women, and some men, we're so used to taking care of other people all the time. And it's always hard when you have younger children because your whole focus is on them. And at some point, after the kids are grown a little bit, you start to focus on yourself. And I'd like to encourage people that you could do both at the same time. You can take good care of yourself in order to take good care of your kids, and don't put yourself last. Treat yourself like someone you love and give yourself the best that you can, and be kind and gentle, and make peace with your faults, and celebrate your successes, and just love who you are and be as true to yourself as you can. That's what I'd like to say.
I love it.
Those are great words, Mimi. Authenticity. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I think we all should be. We need to live an
Yeah.
authentic life. And just from
Yeah.
a health perspective, I think treating our bodies well really is the only way that we can control how our body operates and how our body responds to certain stressors of the body, whether it's exogenous from the outside or endogenous from the inside. And I think maintaining resiliency for our body is important as we age and as we go through life, because life, it can be hard, and that resiliency can be important, and that resiliency can come from how we treat ourselves. So not only physically, but emotionally, socially, mentally, spiritually, and so on. But juicing is such a great way of maintaining strength in our physiology.
That's great. It's true.
Oh my gosh, you guys, you're so amazing. I want to drink more juice, even though I had a bunch of juice this
I
morning.
wish I need
Should
some
have
now.
actually
Like,
had a glass of juice.
immediately.
I might go massage some kale.
And we hadn't thought about that.
Can I ask you guys one juicing question? Do
Yeah.
you peel your beets?
No?
I don't actually. I just wash them.
You scrub them?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's what I've been doing. I
And if
just
it's a
want to know.
particular, resistant area which just refuses to be cleansed, then I will peel that portion. But in
I
general,
usually cut that bottom off,
I
but
just-
same thing with carrots. I scrub my carrots too. I was just wanted to know because I'm ready to juice a batch, and that's what I usually do. And I thought, should I be leaving this on? But I do scrub it really well, so we're good.
don't forget, a little bit of dirt has some B12 in it. So
Yes, I know. I know.
Yeah.
And don't wear white while you're juicing. Beets.
Okay.
That's the word of wisdom. That's the word of wisdom I want
That's-
to take away.
those are good
Don't
words of
wear
wisdom.
white when you're juicing beets.
That's a good note to end on. I want to have you guys back together. I hope we can do this more often. And
this
It
was
was
so much
great.
fun. Oh, Mimi, and I
It
was
really was fun.
so
It
happy
really
to have
was
met
so-
you. I've been following you for such a long time. I have all
Oh,
the books.
oh, that's so great to hear. Really nice.
yeah,
Really nice.
and
Thank
Mimi,
you
I
so
am
much.
getting a puppy, so I have your raw vegan book. So
Oh,
I'm
good.
gonna start cooking up some, or not cooking up, just chopping up some delicious food for my new puppy.
Oh, yeah. Now, you have a microplaner? You have a microplaner?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, you use that on top of your dog's food with fresh food. That's a really good hint. You'll like the book when you sit down and read it. You can eat that food too, by the way. It's
Oh,
all,
I will.
it's
Oh, I
all
will.
human. It's all human food.
All right.
So,
All
all
right.
right. Thank you so much.
All right,
I'm glad
guys.
we had this conversation.
Bye-bye. This
Bye-bye.
was great.